Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the podcast. Man, I've been gone for 2 weeks, and all of a sudden, the Yankees are in the playoffs. This is insane, this run that we're on, and the terrible run that the Red Sox are on. It's absolutely absurd to me what has happened over the last 2 to 3 weeks or so. Really, with Boston, it's been since last month. But with the Yankees right now, clinching their 70th win and getting the number 1 spot in the wild card. Absolutely insane. Let's get into it. So the Yankees just finished up a series with Boston and completed the sweep. Now, there's a lot of reasons why the Yankees are on this incredible run right now. But first things first, the trade deadline players, Gallo and Rizzo, are a huge part of it. Not even because they were always being productive. Anthony Rizzo shot out of a cannon right after the trade deadline and led us to 3 straight wins in Miami back when our offense was still in a struggling slump. It's even now Gallo is helping us out because the problem with the Yankees before, the biggest one, was they didn't have diversity. So they couldn't really help but have teams be like, we just throw an electric righty at this team and this team is just going to go down because they don't have any diversity. We throw a lefty out there, we're going to get smoked. But if we throw any righties, this team is not going to withstand that. Now with Gallo and Rizzo, this team is left, right, left, right, left, right. And that has created a lot of problems for pitchers. And they're coming to find out that this team, offensively, especially when they're on, is almost unstoppable. Because when you got 3 guys who aren't performing, you got 2 guys that are. And now that the Yankees have this option of going to their death lineup, where they throw Judge in center, Stanton in right, keep Rizzo in at first, and put Voit as our DH. This lineup is a possible World Series winning lineup. Now, even coming into the season, we knew the lineup was going to hit. Or at least we thought this lineup would hit. The one thing that has carried this team through this run is the pitching. Luis Gil coming in a couple weeks ago, now with 3 starts under his belt and not a single run given up. The kid is having a Sevy-esque jump onto the scene. And it's been so fun to watch this kid. This kid has all the potential in the world. And then we have guys like Greg Allen, who was up before. Now we have Andrew Velasquez. Guys like that. Estevan Florial when he was up. This all started really when the Scranton Yankees came up, when everyone went down with injuries or COVID. It all started there because Boone looked at this lineup and was like, the way we play does not fit the lineup we have going. Right now we have to change this sort of mold. And they've turned into a speed team that likes to steal bases all of a sudden. So that's been another key factor. But let me get back to my original point about the pitching. Even when Garrett Cole was out, Jameson Taillon has been pitching amazing. Nestor Cortez Jr., absolutely electric. And now that Garrett Cole is back, he came back with fireworks. Montgomery came back. Sevy's MRI came back clean. He'll be back in a rehab. Kluber will be in rehab. We'll do rehab assignments soon. This rotation is scary right now, and it will be scary moving forward, especially if we get Sevy and Kluber back in this rotation. This is a complete team all of a sudden. And around July 4th, around there, this team was not complete. This team, it felt very empty, this team. This team felt like there was something missing. And that thing that was missing was A, a healthy starting rotation, B, a consistent bullpen, and C, lefties in the lineup. What have they done so far? They've gotten way more consistent starting pitching. They've gotten a lot better out of the bullpen with keeping saves. They make things interesting. Don't get me wrong. They make things interesting out of that bullpen. But they're doing a better job of keeping the lead. And then lefties in the lineup, we solved that with Rizzo and Gallo. This is, right now, probably the hottest team in baseball. And probably will stay the hottest team in baseball for a long while. They are now 5 games back in the division, and they have cleared up a 10-game deficit from Boston to now be up 1.5 on them. Now Boston is not in the playoff hunt. They're still on the outside looking. They're now on the outside looking in. And that all happened because of the sweep of Boston, where really it showed. It showed a lot. Now, going to Boston's side of things, this sweep showed a lot of the deficiencies that we have seen from them since the end of July. And I was saying for a while, I think I said it a few times on the podcast, I've said it a lot of times outside, wait until August. Wait until August to see if this team is actually legit. Because a team like this, that at that point in like mid-August, did not face any adversity whatsoever. There was nothing going wrong for this team. Everything was on the up and up. They were one of the best teams in baseball. They were this underdog team that no one saw coming. How were they going to do post Mookie Betts for the second year? Didn't seem like they made many adjustments. Chris Sale was being out, so this team is probably going to be down with Baltimore. And all of a sudden, they have 69 wins in mid. They have like 65 wins at that point in late July. The reason why I said wait until August is because I wanted to wait until they hit a wall. The Yankees hit their wall really early. We got to see how they build after being broken. Because this team was broken for a while, but they rebuilt. And now look at them. I wanted to see what Boston would do after they hit a little bit of adversity. Would they go into that brick wall at full speed and break? Or would they get past it? And you saw it in this series. Xander Bogaerts thinks he's so cool hitting that home run in the first. mocking the Yankees with their celebration. They cannot get anything going. They try everything they can to light a spark in that dugout. Nothing works. Their bullpen has deteriorated mightily. They still got a couple guys in there that are really good. But that bullpen as a whole is pitching to a 6.8 since July. They've got a starting pitching staff that is not that consistent anymore. Nathan Eovaldi from last year and the start of this year, almost unhittable. Now, he gets hit around. He's gotten into a struggle bus. Eduardo Rodriguez has never really been the most consistent pitcher. This year, he was doing a lot better. He started falling back into place. Martin Perez, not that great. This lineup, or this rotation, I should say, has fallen off mightily. And after this series against the Yankees, I think the world is starting to see this team does not handle adversity well. Yes, there is still time. I am not denying that. They are still only 1.5 away from the Yankees. But at the pace they're going at, with where they were at before, I don't know. This team, for one, they failed at the deadline. They were one of the major failure teams at the deadline in Boston. They got Kyle Schwarber out of the deadline, who's a great player. Had an amazing month of June. But their issues were they needed another bullpen arm, because even though their bullpen was doing good, Sawamura and those guys in that bullpen were not going to be it. They needed someone else in that bullpen, and they did not get that done. They really didn't make any real strides. They got a replacement. They got like a platoon in left field. They didn't really improve at anything. They could have improved the starting pitching staff, which was already had some guys that were pretty inconsistent. They could have improved that. They didn't do that. So it's very interesting to see this fall off, knowing that they could have done more at the deadline, that before this they never faced adversity. In mid-July, we were 10.5 out of first place, which was Boston. Now look where we are. The Yankees just know how to A, figure out when something's wrong. B, identify the problem. And C, fix it. Going into that trade deadline, there were guys like Jeff Passan, and I'm not throwing any shade at Jeff Passan. Love that guy. But there were guys like Jeff Passan that was on the R2C2 podcast saying the Yankees are never getting past Boston this year. They're never getting past Tampa. And saying it with a lot of conviction. That was around the time when Aaron Judge went out with COVID. When the Scranton Yankees decided to come up in Florial, Allen, Lamar, etc. And Brian Cashman identified the problem, which was, A, they didn't get any production out of their left fielder. Sorry, Brett Gardner, but not the production we need, right? Not enough production for us. And then we had guys like Wade rotating in and out and players like that, and we weren't getting much production there. So what do? They go out and get Gallo, one of the best outfielders in baseball. Another thing that they identified, oh yeah, first base, Luke Voigt's been out a lot this year. Only played 30 games up to the All-Star break. So what do? They get Anthony Rizzo. And getting those guys also solved the other problem, which is a problem I sound like a broken record, but I keep having to say, is that they solved the left-handed drought issue, which is we were at a lack of lefties. Now we have enough lefties to where this lineup is the most balanced that I've ever seen. Up and down this lineup, it is scary. And I just don't know. Right now. Again, a lot of time left in the year. But I just don't know who in a 5-game series, who in a 7-game series can handle this lineup enough to win 4 games. Or in a 5-game series, 3 games. Who can deal with this lineup enough to win 3 games in a series? Now, they are in a pretty big hole to get out of in the division, at least. Knowing that they started off in a very big hole. Like I said before, they were 10.5 out at one point in July. So, Tampa Bay is going to be an issue. We are still 5 games out of Tampa Bay, which is a lot better because I think we were 9.5 out of Tampa at one point in time. So even to make that 5 is pretty remarkable, especially at this point in August where 5 seems to be the magic number, knowing that there's about a month and a half left. Tampa Bay seems like they are going to be an issue. They really haven't fallen off much this year. The Yankees just hit this absolute stride, which helped them make this little comeback right now. But other than that, this team really just, they're good. That's all I can say. This team is really good. They're just a collective unit that just plays all together so well. And it pisses me off so much how this team has like Nelson Cruz now, who's probably one of the most notable hitters on that team. You got Austin Meadows and Brandon Lau and players like that. And they're all just collectively playing so well. I don't know if the Yankees are going to be able to overlap this team, but to be honest, I think in a 5-game series, which we would face Tampa in, if the season ended right now and the Yankees won the wild card game, that's where we would face Tampa. I think the Yankees could win a 5-game series against Tampa. This team has improved so much, and the way this pitching staff is pitching right now, the way the lineup is hitting, I don't see a team beating us in 5. So, to get off of the Yankees real quick, I want to talk a little bit about the Mets. Because, man, have they fallen off a cliff. And it happened a little earlier than I expected. They had a streak of 5 straight. They're now on a streak of losing. They lost 6 out of 7. And they are now down to 3rd place in the NL East where a week or two ago they were first. This really, it's shocking to see how fast it happened, but I can't say I'm surprised it happened. The one thing I can say I'm surprised about is that Atlanta has started to pull away in this division. After Ronald went out, I thought, you know what, Braves? It's fine. Let Ronald recover. Once he recovers, then you guys can compete for the division. This isn't your year. Obviously, I was wrong. This team is firing on all cylinders right now on a 6-game winning streak and up 4 games over Philly to be in the division lead. That is insane to me. Freddie Freeman is going off. He had a cycle the other day. But back to the Mets. The Mets just, I don't know why. It's every single year they hit this wall. And it just seems like they can't get out of their own way sometimes. Now, a lot of people thought it would be different now that they had Cohen. They got Lindor. And things were looking on the up and up to start the year. And they didn't fall off the proverbial cliff as quickly as they usually did. So it caused people to be excited. Now, I always like when Mets fans are cautiously optimistic, but let's be honest, all baseball fans are pretty irrational. A lot of baseball fans don't know how long this season is in the moment and overreact. Basically why Yankee fans were saying this team is done, fire Aaron Boone with like less than half the season. It was. So Mets fans were pretty optimistic about the year. I'm pretty sure they had a pretty big lead in this division for a little bit. I think the problem was because the fact that they are still 4.5 out at 60-60 is crazy. And the fact that Atlanta is up 4 games in their division and would still be 5 back of the Yankees, who are second in their division, is insane. So the NL East is not strong. So what happened to the Mets is they are an average team. Okay? Exactly. By their record, a 500 record, they're an average team. The problem was teams like Philly, teams like Atlanta, they just didn't. The division didn't catch up to the Mets until now. The Mets were an average team, and for a while, Philly and Atlanta were playing at a below average level, which allowed the Mets to have this little lead in the division. And now that they've hit this wall, the division has started to catch up with them. They're starting to say, wait, we're better than this. And now teams like Atlanta, who are undermanned, for the record, it's pretty crazy that they are even 65-56. But the division finally has caught up to the Mets, and the Mets didn't do enough at the deadline. Baez was a great pickup. He could play third. He could play short. He could play basically all the middle infield, third base spot. It was a good pickup, but I don't think they did enough to help this team, and the front office did not help them. The front office got rid of the hitting coach halfway into the season, or less than halfway into the season, based on the fact that Lindor was struggling. The team was doing okay offensively. There were a couple guys that were struggling, like Conforto, who we thought was going to explode this year, knowing that this is his contract year. Thought Conforto was going to have a career year. Ends up he's struggling, Lindor struggling, but the team is staying afloat at that point. At that point, they're in first place. And then they go, okay, firing the hitting coach. Now, with this new hitting coach, all of a sudden the team can't hit for shit. And then you got Steve Cohen going on Twitter saying some shit like, how can MLB players be this underproductive? The numbers don't lie. And it's like, it's partially your fault. I can't think of a reason why they would get rid of their hitting coach that early into the year unless the owner demanded it. So that's the assumption I'm going under, is that Steve Cohen basically demanded a firing of the hitting coach. So for Cohen to be out tweeting about it, yes, in some ways it is George Steinbrenner-esque to say some shit like that. But Steinbrenner wouldn't just say it to the media. He would say it to their faces. And for a lot of these, and for Cohen, I don't think he's that type of guy who's going to go into that locker room and look into Lindor's face and look into Pete Alonso's face and be like, I don't know how you guys are being so unproductive. Look at the fucking numbers. You guys are shit. I don't think he's that type of guy. So for him to just start lashing out on Twitter, and I hope he is not out there like, oh yeah, with my tweet, this team is going to galvanize together, be like, Cohen doesn't like the way we're playing, we got to step up, and then thinks that they're going to go on some massive run. That's not how things work. If you're just going to tweet about it, you look like a little kid, okay? And the players are going to see right through it. The players are going to be like, oh, look at this fucker. He's freaking right there. He could come down at any point to the locker room. But no, he has to go to the media. I think what it could do is this could break the team. I hope it doesn't happen. Maybe the team does galvanize around it. I just hope that wasn't Cohen's goal. Because most likely, it's not going to work. Not a bit. But the Mets seem like they're just... I'm not going to say their season's over. We've seen a run that can happen in New York already. So I'm not going to say their season is over. In the wild card standings, they are basically the same out in the wild card as the division. So right now, they better hope. I'm just going to say they better hope that Atlanta starts to cool off very fast. Because this can get out of hand quickly. And it doesn't help that they are in the middle of a 13-game stretch where they have to play LA, the Dodgers, and the San Francisco Giants. Both some of the top teams in the league. The Giants being the top team in the league. So, good luck, Mets fans. I wish nothing but the best for you guys on your run. Hopefully, make something happen. But, anyways, I think that's where I'm going to end it off. Hopefully you guys did enjoy. If you did and you're watching on YouTube, leave a like down below. If you're new here, hit that sub button. I am very close to 200 subs. I need your help to get there. And then I need your help to get to 300, 400, 1,000, and beyond. We want to go to the moon. So help me get there by hitting that sub button. And if you're watching on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, leave us a good review. We would greatly appreciate it. And till next time, I'm out of here. Peace.